Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. Um, Picture your weekly trip to the grocery store, right? Or maybe that late night online shopping spree.
Yeah, we've all been there.
What if that cart, physical or, digital, tells a much deeper story? A story about your beliefs, your values, maybe more than you realize.
It's this idea that every dollar you spend is like a form of communication, a quiet vote almost.
A profoundly powerful vote, yeah. It's quite a thought, isn't it? The simple act of buying something transformed. It reflects these sort of hidden social dynamics, maybe cultural assumptions that we weave into our daily lives without even thinking.
Well, what's truly fascinating, I think, is how often we just overlook these subtle social patterns and the deep-seated cultural norms embedded right there in our everyday consumer choices.
Right.
We think we're just acquiring goods, but really
Mhm.
we're engaging in this complex ritual. It doesn't just reflect our society, it actively shapes it.
It's a ritual. I like that. It's like a window into our collective values, often hidden in plain sight.
Exactly. Revealing how identity and community kind of function today, often through these shared consumption habits.
Absolutely. So today we're diving into the rise of what's called conscious consumerism. We're going to explore how shopping, yeah, shopping, has transformed into a form of activism almost.
Mhm.
And what this really deep cultural shift means for you, listening now, for businesses large and small, and well, for the very fabric of our society.
We'll be digging into the material you've shared, trying to uncover these evolving links between consumption and values.
Yeah, and maybe, just maybe, get you to question your own social reality a little bit along the way.
So thinking about the context, for most of the 20th century, consumer decisions were, let's face it, pretty straightforward for most people.
Right. It was all
The prevailing wisdom was price, quality, convenience. Those were the kings. Undisputed, really.
totally. And the idea that shopping could be, I don't know, an ethical thing or political,
That was pretty niche, wasn't it? Confined to specific groups, activists, maybe.
definitely. It wasn't really integrated into just, everyday buying behavior for the average person.
You're right, that traditional model was absolutely dominant. But the roots of this modern conscious consumerism, they actually run much deeper than just the last couple of decades.
Oh, interesting. So where does it start?
Well, you can trace it back to several foundational social movements, mainly in the 1960s and 70s.
Okay.
Think about the environmental movement, first off. That really ignited public awareness about, well, the ecological impact of making things and using things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then you had the civil rights movement, which powerfully showed how economic boycotts could be used strategically,
Hmm.
forcing change.
Right. Hitting them in the wallet.
It showed that collective purchasing power, or deciding not to purchase, could be a real weapon for social change. And we can't forget the fair trade movement either.
Yes, fair trade.
It started connecting consumers in, say, Europe or North America directly with producers, often in developing countries, specifically focusing on fair wages and humane working conditions.
So these different movements, they kind of lead the groundwork.
Exactly. In their own ways, they subtly began shifting how people perceived consumption,
Hmm.
moving it beyond just a simple transaction, planting the seeds for what we see today.
Okay, so we had these foundational shifts, like you said, planting seeds, but then
Right.
boom, the digital age arrived.
Right. And that just accelerated everything massively.
The internet, social media, especially since maybe the 2000s, 2010s, it's completely reshaped the landscape.
Uh-huh.
Suddenly, you, the consumer, you gain this unprecedented access, information about how companies operate, their supply chains, their social and environmental impacts,
Stuff that was hidden before.
totally hidden. And social media platforms became these incredibly powerful tools for sharing information instantly, organizing boycotts almost overnight,
And holding companies accountable
Oh.
publicly.
in ways that were just, well, impossible just a few decades earlier. It really feels like a fundamental shift in the power dynamic, wouldn't you say?
It absolutely is. And it really ushered in what some people call the transparency revolution.
Transparency revolution, I like that.
Companies just can't operate in the shadows anymore, hoping their practices, good or bad, stay hidden.
Because someone will find out.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've seen the rise of platforms and organizations, think Good Guide, Ethical Consumer, even the modernized Better Business Bureau.
Right, they give ratings and info.
And it's not just simple reviews. They offer incredibly detailed information. Corporate social responsibility, environmental impact, ethical labor practices, the whole 9 yards.
So much data.
This level of transparency has fundamentally empowered you, the consumer, to make far more informed decisions. It really reveals those hidden social dynamics, the often complex origins of the products you buy.
It's like pulling back the curtain, isn't it, on the whole global machine?
Precisely.
And it's not just about the information being available, is it? It's about who is using it and how they're weaving it into their lives.
The generational shift, yes.
We've seen a really significant generational shift here. Millennials, and maybe even more so Generation Z, they seem far more inclined than previous generations to actively consider these social and environmental factors when they buy things.
Your research really highlights this clearly. They're often willing to pay more, sometimes significantly more, for products that align with their values.
Yeah, that willingness to pay premium is key.
And they're much more likely to actually research companies before they click buy or pick something off the shelf.
Right. It's not just an afterthought for them.
No. For many, it seems like a built-in expectation of corporate responsibility. It's part of their identity as consumers, reflecting those deeper cultural norms they hold.
And this connects to influencers too, right?
Oh, absolutely. You can't really understand modern consumer behavior without considering the amplifying role of social media influencers. You have content creators focusing specifically on sustainability, ethical fashion, social justice, and they've built these huge dedicated followings.
They're not just celebrities pushing random products.
Not at all. They're often seen as trusted voices, and they're actively weaving these cultural norms and values into the content they create, their recommendations, or sometimes their critiques.
They can make or break a product sometimes.
They can have immediate and substantial effects on sales and a brand's reputation. It really embodies how identity and community function today through shared values and these curated consumption choices. They kind of create a collective consciousness around ethical buying.
Okay, so we have this evolving consumer, more informed, more value-driven, amplified by social media. How have businesses reacted to all this?
Well, it's been a real spectrum, hasn't it? A truly varied set of responses.
Yeah, from companies jumping right in to others kind of being dragged along.
Exactly. You have some who've embraced it enthusiastically, even from the start, and others who've made more reluctant reactive changes. It's fascinating watching them all try to navigate this new landscape.
So who are the ones embracing it?
Well, we've definitely seen companies that made sustainability and social responsibility absolutely central to their identity, right? From day one, you know the names.
Patagonia, Ben & Jerry's.
Patagonia, Ben & Jerry's, TOMS shoes, companies like that. They didn't just tack on a green product line later.
No, it was their whole thing.
They built their entire success explicitly on these conscious consumerism principles. They proved that aligning with values wasn't just, a fuzzy marketing idea, but could be a core business strategy.
And it clearly resonated.
Deeply. With that growing group of consumers who want their purchases to actually reflect their personal ethics.
Okay, but then you have the other end of the spectrum, the more reactive ones.
Right. And often they're compelled by public pressure, not necessarily internal conviction initially.
Fast fashion jumps out immediately.
Fast fashion is a prime example, yes. They faced intense and increasing criticism for their environmental impact, all the waste, the pollution.
And the labor practices too, right?
And particularly for questionable labor practices in their supply chains. So in response, what do we see?
Sustainable lines appearing. More talk about transparency.
Exactly. Many have started introducing these sustainable collections or implementing transparency initiatives, but often it feels driven by consumer backlash rather than being part of their original core values.
So it's a clear shift from being proactive leaders, like Patagonia, to maybe more reactive followers.
I think that's a fair assessment in many cases, yes. And this leads us to something I find particularly interesting.
Go on.
The formal recognition of all this through the rise of B corporations, benefit corporations.
Ah, the B Corp. What's the key difference there?
Well, these aren't just companies saying they're good. They're legally mandated, required by their structure to consider the impact of their decisions on all their stakeholders.
Not just shareholders.
Exactly. Workers, customers, suppliers, the community, the environment, everyone. Not solely focused on maximizing shareholder profit.
So that B Corp certification, it's like a verified signal.
It's a powerful and valuable signal for conscious consumers, yes. It makes it much easier for you to identify businesses that are genuinely committed to broader social and environmental goals.
Kind of cuts through the marketing fluff.
It's a formalized way to verify that a company is actually walking the talk. Helps you navigate all the claims and, frankly, the noise out there.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. We see consumers are more aware, businesses are adapting in different ways.
Uh-huh.
But what happens when millions, maybe billions of dollars start shifting because of these choices? What are the ripple effects, the tangible impacts of all this voting with your wallet?
Great question. What are the broader consequences for society?
Yeah, beyond just the individual purchase.
Well, the environmental impact has been pretty significant and often measurable.
How so?
Consumer demand for sustainable products has directly spurred remarkable innovation. Think renewable energy tech, biodegradable materials, circular economy practices.
Right, designing waste out from the start.
Exactly. Thinking about products from cradle to grave, aiming for zero waste. We're seeing more and more companies adopting carbon-neutral policies, seriously reducing packaging waste, implementing proper recycling programs.
And this is driven by consumers?
Largely, yes. It's often in direct response to consumer preferences that reveal this kind of shift in collective societal values about the planet. It provides a direct economic incentive for companies to become more environmentally progressive.
Okay, so environmental progress. What about the social side?
The social justice implications are equally profound, I'd argue. Consumer boycotts and also boycotts.
Oh, boycotts. You mean deliberately buying from certain companies?
Precisely. Where consumers intentionally support companies that align with their values. Both boycotts and boycotts have become incredibly powerful tools.
To pressure companies on what kind of issues?
Things like racial discrimination, gender inequality, human rights violations within their operations or supply chains.
Can you give an example?
Well, a powerful historical one you've highlighted is the hashtag Boycott Nike campaign back in the 1990s.
Ah, I remember that. About the sweatshops.
Exactly. That campaign, really fueled by public outcry over labor practices, directly led to Nike making significant improvements in working conditions within its supply chain.
So that's real, tangible change.
Absolutely. It shows the profound impact that collective consumer action can actually have.
But it can't be all positive, surely. Are there downsides or challenges?
Oh, definitely. It's crucial we acknowledge that conscious consumerism also faces some pretty significant challenges and limitations. It's complex, and there are potential biases.
Okay.
Which raises an important question for you, the listener, trying to do the right thing. How do you tell the genuine efforts apart from the misleading claims?
You mean greenwashing?
Exactly. The problem of greenwashing, where companies make vague or unsubstantiated or sometimes outright misleading claims about their environmental or social impact, that's a huge hurdle.
It makes it hard to trust labels.
It really does.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's still a persistent lack of truly standardized metrics and certification systems across the board, that creates widespread confusion.
And allows some bad actors to get away with it.
Unfortunately, yes. It allows for manipulation by less scrupulous companies. It's a trust landscape that consumers have to navigate very, very carefully.
That connects to another issue, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Accessibility, affordability.
Yes, that's a major concern. Sustainable and ethically produced products are, let's be honest, often more expensive than the conventional alternative.
Sometimes a lot more expensive.
Which potentially makes conscious consumerism feel like a privilege, something only the wealthy can really afford to participate in fully.
Which could actually make inequality worse.
It could, paradoxically, exacerbate existing social and economic inequalities. It really raises a critical question about who can truly cast this vote with their wallet and whether the benefits of this movement are being broadly shared across society.
That's a tough one.
And it feeds right into this ongoing, quite lively debate about effectiveness. Is individual consumer action enough? Or do we need bigger collective political action?
Right, the individual versus the system argument.
Some critics argue that focusing too much on our individual purchasing decisions, however well-intentioned, might actually distract us.
Distract from what?
From the fundamental need for systemic change. Change through government regulation, robust policy reform.
Things only governments can really enforce.
They point out, often rightly, that many of the biggest environmental and social problems, climate change, global labor exploitation, they require broad collective action and major institutional shifts, not just individual choices at the checkout counter.
It makes you question your own role, your own social reality, and wonder if changing your shopping list is really enough to tackle these huge issues.
Exactly. It's about the scale of the problem versus the scale of the individual solution.
So, looking ahead then, how do you see this whole cultural phenomenon evolving? It really feels like we're still figuring out this new relationship with consumption.
I agree. It feels like it's still very much in development.
We can probably expect technology to play a bigger role, right? More transparency tools.
Absolutely. Continued development there is almost certain. Imagine the potential of, say, blockchain technology for truly transparent supply chains.
Where you could trace a coffee bean right back to the farm.
Potentially, yes. Tracing a product's entire journey, raw material to finished good. Or think about artificial intelligence helping you navigate these incredibly complex choices with way more ease than today.
AI as your ethical shopping assistant.
Something like that. And beyond tech, what we're likely witnessing is the increasing integration of these conscious consumer principles right into mainstream business models.
So not just a niche thing anymore.
No longer confined to just the early adopters or specialty brands. As consumer demand keeps growing and these cultural norms continue to shift,
More big companies will have to get on board.
more companies, even the huge corporations, will likely need to incorporate these values into their core business strategies, rather than just treating them as, optional marketing add-ons.
It becomes a fundamental expectation, part of their social license to operate, maybe?
I think that's right. A new expectation of their role in society.
And this is happening globally, isn't it?
It certainly is a global phenomenon, yes.
Yeah.
Which presents both amazing opportunities.
Like influencing practices worldwide, promoting a more sustainable global economy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it also brings significant challenges. Different cultural values about consumption, vastly different economic conditions, varying levels of regulation from country to country.
It's a complex dance across borders, for sure.
It is. And maybe one more thing to consider is the psychological aspect for the individual consumer.
What do you mean?
Well, this strong desire to make ethical choices can, kind of paradoxically, lead to quite a bit of cognitive dissonance, even stress. Imagine feeling overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of global supply chains. Constantly trying to weigh conflicting values: is local better than organic? Is fair trade better than low carbon?
Right, it's rarely simple.
Or feeling guilty about purchases that don't quite meet your ideals because maybe the better option wasn't available or affordable.
That tension sounds familiar.
This tension between our ethical hopes and the messy realities of a complex world, that's a really key human element within this whole social trend. It forces us to confront our own internal contradictions sometimes.
So when you boil it down, conscious consumerism seems like much more than just a shopping trend.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just fleeting fashion.
It feels like a fundamental shift in how we collectively are thinking about the link between consumption, what we buy, and our values, what we believe in.
It really highlights this growing desire among so many people to align their economic actions with their ethical and social convictions.
Shaping a new kind of social reality through millions of choices.
If we try and connect all this to the bigger picture, I think the future of conscious consumerism will likely involve this powerful dynamic mix.
A mix of what?
A blend of individual choices, yes, but also collective action. Market-driven solutions alongside government regulation, and this continuous cycle of technological innovation feeding into broad cultural transformation, and vice versa.
It's a constantly evolving landscape.
It really is. And it reveals a lot about our collective social consciousness, where it is now and where it might be heading.
So, wrapping up, what does this all mean for you listening right now? As we continue to vote with our wallets day in and day out,
Right.
what kind of society are we actually building? Collectively, with every single purchase. And maybe more fundamentally, what deeper cultural shifts might still be needed for us to create a truly conscious world, one that genuinely reflects our most profound shared values. Something to think about.